Okay, you guys, what is up? The King of Lightning is here today to do Magi, the Labyrinth of Magic, Chapter 208 review. That is 208, don't question me, of Magi. Now, this week's chapter is actually a very simple chapter, but it does have greater meaning in the sense that we know the reason why things are the way they are in Bobat. First of all, the person who actually implemented these changes wasn't Cohen. It was Kome, his little bro. And the reason why he did that, the reason why he let the Co-Empire government supersede the system of government, the Republic that Bobat was just forming, is because there is this greater notion, there is this greater goal, this greater idea that both Cohen and Kome have. And I believe Koha has the same thing. I'm not too sure, but Koha, I'm pretty sure he thinks along the same lines, wherein which the world should have only one king, to unify the world itself. And if you follow the anime, it ties into what was said in the latest episode of Magi, where which Cohen was talking about how the world has one language, therefore the world should have only one king. So the rest of the actual chapter is pretty much Alibaba playing off the crowd of people that are in this palace area, and most of the people there are subjects of Cohen. They're like higher end echelon people in the Co-Empire. And Alibaba, he's just chilling there, and then we have the people like, you're being disrespectful. You must, I forgot what word they use, but basically he has to bow and go like a full on bow. Like he has to go on his knees and go on his face and that kind of stuff. My liege. But the thing here is that Alibaba, he bent his knees and fucking, what's his name? Balugard? This dude's there. And so the other former warriors of the Bobat Empire, the Bobat country, city-state, whatever you want to call it. And they're like, no. Prince, no. I mean, they're not saying it out loud, obviously. But they're thinking to themselves, don't do it. Because we have Toto and we have Origa, we have Morgiana. They're all like thinking internal monologues. And they realize that if Alibaba doesn't do this, then the people around, the Co-Empire subjects are going to be displeased. And it's going to be seen as an act of disrespect. And it may lead to some kind of conflict. Furthermore, it would show them that Alibaba is no longer within the right frame of mind when it comes to the country of Bobat. Which I don't really understand why that is, but apparently that is the case. But at the same time, if he does bow as a former prince of Bobat, it would be very humiliating. Especially when his own people are there watching. His own warriors are there watching. So the thing here is that he does like a semi-bow. He bends his knees and he explains how, if I go any further, just letting you know, it's going to be within the same line of an old Bobat tradition where which we bow in front of a pregnant woman to wish her a safe delivery. And all the dudes there are like, what the? Rise! Stand up! Because all the people that were, of course, Bobat, Bobat soldiers and Bobat people, they're all doing full-on bows. So in that sense, when you consider, because this is not the case, because I think he made it up on the spot. But the thing about it is that if the subjects of the Co-Empire, they now see what was just done as an extreme act of disrespect, because they didn't know this supposed old tradition of Bobat. So when they're on full-on bow, they're wishing Cohen a safe delivery. It's funny. I like the way they play that shit out. That was very, very, very funny. Now, when it comes to the rest of the chapter, after that, Cohen's like, just everyone leave, just go, bounce. Like, you know what? Come here, Alibaba and the households, you guys just hop in, all right? Like, let's just have a talk. And pretty much, it's Cohen talking to Alibaba. And the main gist of their talk is that Alibaba is pissed that Cohen invaded Baghdad, that Cohen changed the whole system, because he believes it was Cohen who did that. And Cohen is like, why are you asking all these questions about why? Like, because he has this whole greater notion in mind, obviously. And he's trying to tell Alibaba something. What exactly he says after his comment, I forget what he states. But the end result is him realizing that Alibaba is not aware of the greater notion that both Comey and Cohen have, and probably Koha as well. Therefore, he lets little bro take over. Little bro explains how A, the weather's nice, and B, how I was the one who changed the whole system of Baghdad. Me. I changed it to where in which the country of Baghdad eternally will have their power always manipulated, controlled by the co-empire. And the reason why he's doing that is because he wants to unify the world. All of the countries that are under the Western subjugation army will have their governments put below the co-empire governments. So the co-empire government and the co-empire system and that country's money, that country's resources, that country's armies will always belong to the co-empire eternally. Of course, as long as the co-empire is there. Of course, you rebel, fuck that shit, salute, over. But, no, because Cohen's there, Cohen, he's a monster. But the thing here is that the reason why they're doing that is because it goes back to this whole notion of one language, one king. They want to control everything. Everything. It's basically world domination. But the way they're going about it, I can't really say it's evil. Because think about it. They didn't change. When they first invaded Baghdad, they didn't kill anyone. All they did was strip down their system. Even though it was still a republic, they stripped down their system. And they put their own system of government before their system. So they're changing the country from the foundation up. And the reason why, and Alibaba said himself, nations that are taken over by the co-empire become a part of the empire itself. So what we see here is the reason as to why Cohen and the others go about this process, is so they can unify the world under one king. Now, that king probably being Cohen himself, we don't know. But the fact remains is that it's very hard to call them simply evil, because what they do necessarily isn't evil. Almost like a manifest destiny thing, to be honest. Yeah, it really is like a manifest destiny type of thing going on there. So Cohen, we're gonna see what happens now, because Alibaba, after he had the two Magi's fuse in his body, his mission that he made for himself was to reclaim his country, to become the prince, or either to become the prince or to lead his country into prosperity. But when you take a look at what Cohen says, being this one and only king, and when you take a look at what Yunnan says about how the king vessels normally fight each other, therefore a lot of war and a lot of blood and a lot of, death and destruction occurs from these battles, we may see a global scale war, or at least on this side, because the Great Rift, there's another side, so that side won't see any, at least as far as I know, that side won't see any wars or stuff like that. But this side, yeah. And that's because of this whole one king concept that Cohen and the others have. That Cohen and Coleman and Koha. And how the people of this side, of the Lem Empire, of Balbad, of Magnostad, and so on, and of course the Seven Sea Alliance, they're not going to easily subjugate themselves to the Empire because of this one language concept, which they may find out if they all go, or at least the king, like the kings of the country, the kings of the world, and the king metal vessel users, if they all go, and the household vessels, if they all go to the summit, and they all listen in on Aladdin's speech, and he reveals about the whole one language concept, or maybe Cohen himself talks about it in the summit. I have no idea, but we'll see where it goes. What he does now, Alibaba, is going to be very intriguing, because after he finds this all out, he may. I'm not gonna say that he's gonna have a change of heart. But what I will say is that he all of a sudden may become more ambitious. He may not just stop at Balbad. He may just try and change the entire damn world, or at least this side of the world. Who knows? Because when you see his personality, it's very, like, what I'm saying now contradicts his own personality. But once he hears about this whole shtick, about the one language and the one king, and then he goes to the summit and he learns about Al-Matoran and all that stuff, he may have a change of heart. They all, even Sinbad, may have a change of heart. Who knows? We'll see where it goes. So I'm done. King Lightning. The chapter overall, it's a good chapter, simple, but the dialogue is very important for the future of the actual manga. And what I can say is that I do like the fact that Alibaba, in front of all these Co-Empire subjects, still had the confidence to not only keep his own dignity, but the dignity of his people as well. That was very nice. Saluja! The House of Saluja is still strong. Alright, so I'm done. The chapter overall is good, and I will see you guys later. Be sure to, of course, rate the video, comment, and subscribe as always. Peace. Have a nice day.